Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen, the Night Watch Zone. What's going on, Kill and Coriander?
Hey.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. Tonight's the night, man. We're talking about the tall man. We finally have gotten to the Phantasm movies, and I am excited. This is going to be really fun. Before we get our quick takes out of the way, we got some folks in the chat, so let's say hello to those guys. We got my man Sunrise in the chat saying ultimate in the hizzle. Okay, man. All right. Neil's in the chat, Neon Black Reviews himself, saying the funeral is about to begin. Sir. Good for you, Neil. Right? Sasha Fred saying, if this one doesn't scare you, then you're already dead. The tagline from the poster. All right, man. Nice. Let's see. We got Patrick. Patrick's in the chat, and he says, hey, Night, Coriander, Killian, and Jerry. What's going on, Patrick?
Hey.
All right. He's saying Phantasm is maybe the second best sci-fi horror film in the past 40 years behind Reanimator. All right. Yeah.
It's a good one.
All right. He says that scene scared the cat poo out of me. Boy.
Yes. I love when he says that.
Yeah. Fear the spear. All right. All right. Strange Monkey in the chat saying the funeral's about you guys are just saying the quotes. That's all right, man. All right. Mr. Dan's in the chat. What's going on, Dan? Saying time for some ass kicking ice cream men. Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
Reggie's awesome.
Oh man. Yeah. All right. Neil, you think when you die, you go to heaven, you come to us. Yes.
Right?
Yeah, man. That was a good one. Flamethrowers in the chat saying, heck yes, Anger Scrim, coolest stage name ever, right? Yeah. Oh, he's throwing out. We got some fun facts for you guys too, man. Yeah. All right.
Good for you, right?
Real quick. Let's get a quick take. You know how we do this, guys. Coriander, I'll start with you, and then we'll go to Kill. Just give me a quick take on what you think of this movie or what it means to you.
This is a great movie, and I like to think that when I die, I'm going to be with my loved ones, and I'm not going to have my body stolen, shrunken down, become a slave to the tall man.
All right. All right. To me, this movie is one of those movies that it just, when I first saw it years and years and years ago, it blew my mind. It was just so out there, all the different things that were thrown into this movie, and it worked. It really, really worked. It scared the crap out of me then. It's still effective today. This movie is 40 years old, 42 years old. So how about you, Kill? A quick take for you.
Well, it's funny. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, and I actually kind of realized I've never seen this movie until now, start to finish. Of course, there were like plenty of things that I remember or that have just kind of sunk in through just pop culture. But yeah, like watching it, it really felt like, man, all right, this is different. It plays with expectation.
Yes.
Because it was not exactly what I thought. And honestly, and I hope I'm not jumping too far ahead, it felt like a Steven Spielberg adventure movie that was dark as hell. Because you had the child protagonist who saw something he wasn't supposed to see, shots out silver bullet, and
right,
but yeah.
Nice. Real quick too in the chat, let's see, we got Doomsday's in the chat saying, sup everyone, fear it up. There you go.
Right.
All right. Flamethrower saying this movie is the reason why I'm getting cremated when I pass away. Oh my gosh. Nice. Patrick saying, I think the Jawas from Star Wars come from Phantasm. Yeah, and there's a little story about that too, man. Absolutely. We're going to try to get into that as well. Let's see what else we got. Neil was saying this movie proved that a very brightly lit mortuary can be creepy as fuck. Absolutely, man. There's no doubt about that. All right, guys, you know what we're going to do. We're going to get ready for our intro, get getting set up. So for you guys in the chat, for you guys watching the replay, sit back, relax. Boy. All right.
Nice.
Let's. That's a bad scene, and you know it. You know it. Oh man, my man Eric's in the chat saying, holy shit, Eric. He says, I've yet to see a single Phantasm movie. However, I love Don's movie, Bubba Hotep. Yeah, you do. And Eric, you got to watch Phantasm, man. You really do. Holy crap, man. Like tonight, this weekend, you need to watch that, man. And we got Real Man in the chat. What's going on? Welcome to the chat. Nice to see you. Welcome. Hey. Saying, I own the entire series in my video library. I love how there's never any definitive answer as to whether what we're witnessing is actually happening or is simply a dream. Yeah, man. Yeah. And we're going to talk about that as well. It's really crazy, but that's some of the greatness of this movie. Let's start this thing off. Coriander, I'm going to start with you since you're, more of a professional on this.
Oh, stop it. As if.
This movie, came out in 1979 from Don Coscarelli. And it starts off and it's just really weird right off the bat, man. You see the mortuary, the funeral home, whatever, and you're like, okay, what's going on? And then next thing you know, you see these two out in the cemetery with Kathy Lester here. What were you thinking in the beginning of this movie and how all this played out with poor old Tommy?
Well, it starts out, pretty creepy because, like you said, you see the mortuary, and then, I don't really understand why people I guess because it's quiet and no one's around, supposedly, that you go and have sex in a cemetery, but I don't get it,
Well,
but
okay.
But it was a great scene because he got his, he had his fun and she got hers, and because you obviously see that she changes into the, can I say that? I don't know. Yeah, what? Okay, because I don't want, spoilers, right? Because I don't want to
let me stop. Hold on, stop. Hold on. This is all spoilers. So Eric, you're in the chat. He usually says spoilers don't matter. So all this is spoilers, but this is the beginning of the movie. This is the first thing in the movie anyway. So So like you were saying, she obviously shapeshifts into the tall man.
Does. Yep. And that was a crazy scene because you're like, holy shit, what the fuck's going on here?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Instantly it begins like, what is going on?
Right off the bat. Kill, what did you think of this scene? What were you thinking? This is being the first time you've really watched it.
Well, I agree with Coriander. Like, look, I know guys, I know you might want some sex. But don't go to the cemetery. You think, oh, no one's around because they're all dead. Ha ha ha. No, don't do it. And can I just say, you got this hot blonde, and then all of a sudden she turns into the tall man. I see what you're doing, tall man. You a freak because you could have killed Tommy anytime you wanted to. But you had fun.
You wanted a little love, yeah.
I see you, tall man.
Right.
But no,
the scene was to it, man.
the scene was very interesting, and like Coriander said, it kind of hits the ground running, and I'm sitting there wondering what the hell is going on, and at first I was like, what was were they just showing the tall man's face, or did he shapeshift? And then you put two and two together. Okay, he can shapeshift. Yeah. And it was messed up.
It was very messed up. That's what I was trying to get to. It was very messed up. Real quick too, Strange Monkey is saying, I remember rumors going around a while back about Phantasm getting remade, and people kept suggesting Tony Todd should have portrayed the tall man. I think I heard something about it getting remade too, but just like a lot of classics, I usually err on the side of just let it be.
Leave him alone.
Phantasm came from a specific time period, and even though it transcends that time period, what I mean is it doesn't look like a movie that was made in 79 per se, and that's because it's so surreal. But there's some reasons why it's so surreal, and I think that's what gave it its look. And I think if they remake it, it's not going to have the same soul to it, if that makes any sense. Right. Let's see. Patrick, feeding the flames for remakes, talking about Doug Jones or Andy Serkis would be good picks for the tall man. Maybe. We got Lord Ron in the chat saying, boy, hello, Night Watch, Corey and Killian. I've watched this movie 60 times and still don't know what's going on. right?
Oh no.
Strange Monkey saying, I agree, Phantasm should never be remade. Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. Real Man saying, has anybody ever noticed how Sam and Dean from Supernatural are incredibly similar to Mike and Jody and Phantasm? That's a good point.
Ooh,
Oh,
that is,
nice.
yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah.
That's a
I
good
like
point.
that.
So we see that Tommy gets killed, and we don't know anything necessarily about it, but then it basically cuts to two of our three main leads, Jody and the great Reggie, played by Reggie Bannister, the greatest ice cream man in the history of movies.
Right.
Yeah, and they're basically talking about, they can't believe that their friend Tommy is dead and so forth. But while they're talking, and I guess, they're here for the funeral and all those types of things, you see the third person of the Trinity in this movie, Michael, who's basically spying and just checking things out. Reggie had said it was a good idea to leave your brother home so he couldn't, he didn't have to deal with the emotional turmoil of all of this. Coriander,
they just lost their parents too, not that long ago.
Right, and I was just about to say, what did you think of this scene? And you can talk about the parent thing too.
Yeah, because I loved it, because like you said, you get introduced to Reggie and Jody, and you find out that was like their best bud, and they don't understand what happens, and then of course you see those guys, they put the casket where it's going to get buried, and they all leave, and then that crazy scene where Jody sticks around and is still watching, and the tall man just Mike hangs out and is still watching with his binoculars and shit, and he sees the tall man, just because it took 6 of those guys, I think it was 6, to take that coffin and put it where it had to be, and the tall man just picked it up like it was nothing, like a loaf of bread, and just stuck it in the back of that hearse. And that was crazy, because it's like, wow, this guy is badass, and what the fuck is he,
Right. Yeah, exactly. As soon as you saw that, you're like, wait a minute, because we all know that when you have pallbearers, you've got at least 6 of them, sometimes even more. So when he lifted it like that and just kind of just threw it in there like a sack of donuts or whatever, it's like, oh crap. Kill at this point, and then Jody is basically like, okay, I'm going to go in for the proceedings, of the funeral and so forth, and he's walking around in that mausoleum. That's a creepy ass place, man. What were you thinking at that point, Kill? And we know who eventually comes behind him.
Yeah, it was creepy as oh shit. it was creepy as hell, because he's hearing these sounds.
Yes.
He's in mausoleums already are kind of unsettling. I mean, they can be beautiful, and obviously you miss your loved ones, etc., etc. But he's hearing all these weird sounds, and he's walking around, and he you're going right around a corridor and a corner, and then all of a sudden you get that hand on your shoulder. And, this tall guy, sir. That scene was creepy, because as I was watching it, I couldn't remember what was going to happen, but I knew something was going to happen. So it was the anticipation of the buildup, like, oh, what's going on,
Yeah, because he's like walking around, and this place is like bigger than Disneyland, because there's like 80,000 turns and twists. And credit to these guys, they only had $300,000 for a budget, right? But the cinematography, the way that the camera moved, especially in scenes, inside of the mausoleum, it's just crazy, because you get such a big vibe, a feel of it. It's almost like it's endless, like a maze. And then, of course, like you said, Angus comes right behind him and puts their hand on him. And even when I first saw this movie, and of course, this was years and years ago, I was a kid, so I didn't really know who the tall man was. As soon as you saw Angus, you're just like, he's a bad mofo. You could just tell, just the way that he talked, the way that he looked and everything. So it's like, wow, what presence that he had. But Coriander, let's go further in the story. And I know you love the car. Car.
Me too.
Yeah, you
so
do.
much. I wish I had it, man.
Yeah.
You and me both.
Right. But we realize that they talk about the parents being dead, and that
Yeah.
Jody is taking care of Mike. He sees one of his friends who's, basically came out of town and all that type of stuff and said, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm taking care of the kid. And Jody plans to send Michael off with their aunt, and because the responsibility is a big burden for him. What were you thinking of this scene, and also when Michael goes to visit grandmother?
Jody and Mike have quite the connection, and you can see because, he follows them everywhere, and he's all, like you said, he goes to this, this like fortune teller lady, and she like tells him, well, he keeps asking, Jody says he's gonna leave, and he's gonna leave me behind, but this woman was like, oh, don't worry. Well, her daughter, this chick, whoever that young girl is, like talks
Her
for
granddaughter.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was telling the kid that, Mike there, that, he's going to take you. And he mentioned about, what he saw in the cemetery. And it's almost like she didn't really talk much about that, right?
Yeah, well, let me say something too, and I don't want to necessarily give it away, but right from this point in the movie, I think they're basically letting the cat out of the bag, because the granddaughter was saying things like, "Don't fear." Don't fear. It's a reflection of what you put out there. You know what I'm saying? In other words, if you have a lot of fear, in your heart, in your mind, you're going to project that wherever you are. And right before Michael left, because he put his hand in the box and the box disappeared and all that stuff, the girl explicitly said, you see, it's all in your mind. You get what I'm saying? So right in the beginning of the movie, and it's just thrown out there, just boop, just a quick little line. But I think that really sets up the whole idea of this movie. So from there, and Kill, I'll throw this to you because, I know you love music as much as we do. You see where Reggie and Jody have this really cool friendship, and Reggie comes over and he's got his guitar and they're sitting there just, just doing a little jamming out. Personally, I'm going to tell you, I enjoyed this moment because it's building the characters, and they really do seem they seem like two guys you could just hang out with. What were you thinking, of things at this point, as far as these characters being built up as friends?
I'm glad you brought this up because I love this jam session. Anytime a movie takes 5 minutes to like, hey, we're going to do something that will give you more character background or a relationship background, but it's not really propelling the overarching story.
Yes.
But I got to say, he can sing. Like they both played the six strings well, man. I enjoyed it. And it did show like, wow, these guys have time invested. These guys, for one, this scene, that's not the first time they've done this.
Right.
That's not the first time they've jammed out. And you can see that they're just buds, man. So it really builds that relationship for me as a viewer because, oh man, there's time here, there's feelings, there's brotherhood there, whether it's Jody and Michael or Reggie, Jody and Michael, but they're a unit, and it was very, and it even harkens to things at the end with Reggie saying certain things, and it's like, man, I feel that. So
no, that's a good point. And I'll be honest, I didn't know that I would go into this as much as we are, but it really does make you invest into the characters. And so when things are happening, you're like right there with them. You can tell that these guys are good guys, and they're friends, and they actually have love for each other. And you don't, I'm not saying you never see that in horror movies, because you do, but you don't see it a lot. And you definitely don't see it in a movie as odd and strange as this movie. A lot of times odd movies or weird movies, they don't have time for a lot of heart and emotion. You know what I'm saying? But there were at least 2 or 3 scenes in this movie, one being near the very end, where you actually, the heartstrings were being pulled a bit. And I appreciated that. Coriander, before I get to you, I'm just going to catch up in the chat because these guys, they're working hard. Neil was saying, and I agree with this movie may transcend its time, but Reggie is definitely stuck in the 70s. Yes, absolutely. You got to love Reggie. And Flamethrower saying, now that I think about it, the Undertaker stole a lot of the tall man's gimmick. Yeah, you know, that's a good point. It is such a good point, man. Shout out to Mean Mark Callis. Phil is in the house. What's going on, Phil?
Hello.
Nice to have you here.
Hey.
From Phil's Creepy Videos. Nice to see you, man. And he is a Phantasm fan. I knew that. Sunrise is back in the chat saying, what did you think about this film regarding the awkwardness of the government police not seeing and acting what was going on? Well, you know, again, and when we get to near the end, I think what we're going to talk about will answer a bit of that too, you know. Strange Monkey saying, Reggie is all about the ladies and the ice cream. There you go, right? Yes. But yeah, Coriander, the next thing we want to do is we want to get to that scene. And I love this scene so much because it's just weird as fuck, man. Michael is walking down the street, just doing his own young guy type of thing, young kid type of thing. He's not worried about nothing. He's just walking. All of a sudden, he looks across the street. Reggie's across the street. And who's walking down the street, Coriander? Who's walking? The tall man himself in broad daylight, right? And he just stops right there. What did you think of this scene? How did it hit you?
It's creepy, you know, and his walk. I mean, he's got just a weird ass walk that just makes him even more creepier. And I mean, and when Reggie opens up the ice cream part, you know, where he keeps the ice cream where it's all frozen and that nice cold air comes out, and he's like, he was like not for it really, because, you know, towards the end, I guess we all like see into where he comes from and we find shit out. So it's just it's a creepy ass scene.
It is very creepy, man. Very, very creepy. Now, Kill, we also see that scene where Jody is just chilling out. You know, he's a young guy. I think he's like 25 years old. I think they said in the movie, somewhere around there. He goes to the bar. He's just chilling. And of course, he sees that lady from the beginning of the movie. And that's, again, Kathy Lester. She's known as the lady in lavender in this movie. And he's figuring, hey, man, I'm going to have a little fun too. He goes out into the cemetery and things are looking good. Fortunately for him, Michael is there, and then Michael hears and sees some weird shit. What were you thinking in this scene, Kill?
Thankfully, Michael heard and saw some weird shit, because he would have got exactly what Tommy got.
Right.
But once again, you know, the tall man, he's a freak. You know, and he's just like, hey, you know. but once again, it was a build-up, because, you know, you're following Mike. And he's hearing stuff here, he's hearing stuff here, and then he's seeing stuff. And he did the most realistic thing anybody would do. He ran his ass off.
Yes.
Hey, brother, you're half naked here with the blondie. Excuse me. I'm just.
He was screaming.
It was great.
Screaming and running.
And Jody did what, you know, any good brother would do. I mean, he's, you know, he's busy right here, but he's like, oh crap, there's my little brother. Don't move. Do not move. You stay right here. I just gotta go check on him, give him these car keys.
Ran him down,
and I'm coming back.
Yeah, he did.
Right? Yeah, man, he ran him down. And then, of course, you know, let's get to a bigger scene here too, Coriander, is when Michael, and I told you this too, Coriander, when Michael decides to go back to the mausoleum at nighttime. I mean, it's pitch black. I'm talking 0 dark 30 at least. He goes inside alone. He's walking around. This kid, he's either
got balls.
He's either the dumbest kid of all time or the gutsiest kid of all time, and maybe something in between. But what did you think of these scenes? Because we know eventually what he saw. You know, what were you thinking of how all this came together?
Yeah, I mean, this is like one of the best scenes, because we get to see one of the spheres, and I mean, I had never seen anything like this, and when that like caretaker grabs him and they're struggling, and that sphere just hooks right onto that caretaker, and it latches on and screws that bolt in his head and starts squirting out his his blood, and just inner juices. It's like, this is great.
Yeah, I mean, talk about, you know, the gross factor, man. I had never seen anything like that either, man.
Right. It was awesome.
Real quick in the chat, and then I'll get your thoughts on that scene, Kill. Dan was saying the days of kids meandering around aimlessly, right? Exactly. Yeah. Sunrise saying a lot of people forget Angus was used in the Subspecies series. Oh, that's a good fun fact, man. Absolutely. Yeah. And also, the OG tall man Angus kept his role even after diagnosed with a terminal disease. Yes, he respected his fans, no doubt about that. Right up until the end, man. Right up until the end. Yeah. But Kill, what did you think? What did you think about that scene and how it all worked out?
I didn't think it was a smart move for him to go at nighttime, but like I said, he feels like one of those. You know, I know this was done in '79. He feels like one of those '80s child protagonists in like the Spielberg movies or something. Yeah. And yeah, he does have balls, because I wouldn't have did that. Right? But no, it was very interesting. And apparently Mike has the sharpest teeth in the world, because when he gets grabbed by the caretaker, he bites and he draws blood. So either Mike has, you know, shark teeth, or he really wanted to get away from that caretaker.
He really did. He's
man.
Yeah, boy. Hey, can I say something? And this review, you guys watching, you know we're live and this is not scripted. We're just going for it. But I don't think words can really do this scene justice, because Mike had just seen some guy get his innards sucked out by a sphere. Okay, that's number one. That's on the real, right?
A flying sphere.
Flying, right, right. That's weaponized. Okay, so he's just standing there in shock, and then your boy, I loved the way Angus walked into this scene, into this shot. He kind of walked sideways and then just turned to face him, and he's just standing there. Credit to Michael, because then he just kind of turned around to look at Angus, and it was almost like a standoff. You know what I mean? And it's funny because Angus did this a few times where he just stood there. And to me, that is so creepy, because it's like, what is going on? You guys agree with that?
The first move, yeah.
Yes.
Well, you know what else? Like, as he turns around, I'm watching this. I'm like, is Mike walking towards him? And he is walking towards him, just so he can cut
towards him.
Yeah, just so he can cut right here. Yes. And I'm sorry, when Angus starts to run and the music kicks in, and it's just like, I'm like, whoa, because he's running so erratic and weird, and he's so tall and lanky. I'm like, dude, guys in the chat, have you ever had someone really run after you? Have you ever had an older brother or a younger brother? And I mean, really, the fear that you feel, like you're playing freeze tag, don't touch me, you know. Like, seriously, if you want to experience what Mike went through, ask someone, hey, chase me as hard as you can.
So in other words, what you're telling the audience is you're reliving those days when we played freeze tag. And Sorry about that.
Scary stuff, folks.
I'm sorry,
scary
man.
Stuff.
I'm sorry. Dan was saying Mike has steel balls too. He sure did. There's no doubt about that, man. But yeah, that scene is crazy, man, because Angus is running at him, and it's, again, the music and the cinematography and Angus. And again, credit to Mike too, because he sold this movie, man. Credit to Mike, Michael Baldwin. And he was just great in this lead role. And we just talked a couple weeks ago about Danielle Harris being a young child actor in a movie where you pretty much are the lead, you know what I'm saying? And even though Michael Baldwin is a little bit older than Danielle was in Halloween 4, still, he's a young actor, and I think he did a hell of a job, man. He really did. Yeah, he runs, he shuts that door, and I love the way the camera work was, because Angus is right behind him, and he shuts the door, and it looks like he shut it just in time. And of course, you know, they like a little camera trick. But then you see Angus's hands going like that, and Michael did what I would have done: cut that son of a bitch up, man. He cuts those fingers off, and you know, again, he's a smart kid because he took the evidence. Because he knew his older brother
wouldn't believe him.
You know, sorry, Kill, but older brothers, we need evidence, okay? We need to see the real proof. And it was a cool little scene, though, for real, because Jody looked in the box. And he had this look on his face. He's like, okay, I believe you. It's like you're dead.
Yeah, he was really cool about it. He's like, okay,
yes,
well, that just happened.
Yes, Coriander, what did you think about that when Jody was like, okay, I believe you, and the fact that Michael brought the evidence?
That was so smart because he kept prior. I keep hearing things, seeing things, stuff's coming after me, and he's not believing him. So he was smart to take that finger and show him. So
absolutely. Real quick too in the chat, Sunrise saying, I've had a crackhead run at me and my heart dropped and fight or flight went into play. Oh wow, I bet it did, man. Neil saying, I shot my brother with a pellet gun one time and had to run for my life. It was then that I knew true fear.
I bet.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. Oh god, that's too funny. Let's see. Sunrise saying Mike Baldwin as well as Reggie Bannister and Don Coscarelli should be honored for their dedication not only to these films but to horror history as well. True enough, man. I mean, the franchise ran 40 years, and that's pretty awesome. It really is. And again, we're going through the whole franchise, so this is going to be a lot of fun. It really is. But just to get to a couple of other moments before we get to the finale here, I'll throw this to you, Coriander. When Jody basically said, I'm going to go and check out the mausoleum and see what's going on, and he has Mike stay with his friends. That scene where Mike looks at the picture and sees that it's the tall man, and he turns to look at him. I was just like, this is some creepy, as Killian would say, this is all nightmare fuel. It really is creepy shit. What did you think about it?
Yeah, this brought me back to it. When that kid was flipping through the book and that happened. I love shit like this.
Yes.
Yeah, it just tells you that this motherfucker's been around for a long fucking time.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. And, we also had that wonderful scene with the finger that had turned into the insect.
Oh, God,
and this is
right.
and it was funny because at this point in the movie, Reggie, was kind of in and out a little bit, but this is where Reggie kind of came in full bore, for the last third of the movie. But it was kind of, and I know this sounds weird, but I don't know how it hit you guys. I'll throw it to you first, Kill. But it was kind of a funny scene to me, though. It was almost like dark humor, you know what I'm saying? Because they're moving around trying to hold this thing and they're trying to put it into the garbage disposal or whatever. What'd you think of this scene? It was just a crazy scene,
Oh, I laughed. I was just like, this feels like something from like the Gremlins or something.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, and I love that this, from this point on, for the most part, Reggie is in there and he's, pulling his weight too. So yeah, I mean, once again, the tone of this movie is and I mean this in a good way, is kind of all over the place, but in a good way, because that scene could have been played very straight, but but they went for a little bit of a more comedic route, which I appreciated.
And, it's interesting because someone in the chat, I think it was Patrick, was talking about this being one of the best sci-fi horror movies of the last 40 years, maybe only second to Reanimator. But in Reanimator, they had that scene with the cat, which was very reminiscent. So, hey. But yeah, I mean, there's so many great moments in this movie, so many creepy moments. Angus is just creepy as hell. And the thing about it is he doesn't have any makeup on. He's not doing anything that's really weird. He just has a suit and he's kind of tall and he's very, very imposing.
But the way he moves.
The way he moves, the way he talks and stuff. But once we get to that scene where the dwarves attack Michael when he's in the car with the two ladies who were basically looking after him, that was a crazy scene too, man. Because poor Michael, man, he's always like either ejecting himself or getting ejected out of vehicles. It's like this kid. I mean, he needs some workers' comp or something. I mean, he's like, it's crazy shit, man. But it's all so surreal. It's foggy outside. You notice there's no other traffic on the roads. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a lot of crazy stuff going on. But once we get to the finale, once all three of them get back into the mausoleum, they had thought that Reggie was a goner because the ice cream truck had got turned over and stuff, but he basically was just hiding out. This is where it even gets weirder. Like, the movie is weird, but this is where it gets even weirder. What were you thinking of this part, Kill, especially when they find that room full of the canisters?
Man, look, when they found the Apple Store room, I was like, what is this white room? Very minimalistic. You got the two metal pillars there, and you got all these black canisters. Like, what is going on? And yeah, man, it was freaky. And shots out to Mike again. He's like, look, I got balls of stone here, and I'm just going to put my hand through these things and peek into, hell or a hellscape or another planet, another world.
where the event Horizon went.
Yeah, Tatooine, with the Jawas was there. Oh, Nub and all that, this kid, he knows no fear. And like you were saying, he's getting ejected from stuff. He's blowing the holes in his door to get out. This kid is eventually going to become the fall guy. Shouts out to Lee Majors, like, something like MacGyver or something.
Yes, MacGyver. Yes.
This kid, he's crazy in the best possible way. But when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is now is going into heavy sci-fi now, because that's a portal. Yes. And I'm just like, wow, all right. And honestly, once again, I forgot all about this stuff. So when I'm watching this, I was like, what is going on? But in a good way. So
yeah, absolutely. And before I get your opinion on that scene, Coriander, I'll just get back to the chat here. Sunrise was saying, I know we're discussing the first film, but this series was the first to introduce the multiverse. That's a good point, man. Very good point. And saying that, have you heard that J.J. Abrams was working on a reboot? I'm both excited and worried as hell. Yeah, I'm worried. I'm worried.
It'll have a bunch of lens flares.
Yeah, a bunch of lens flares on the spheres, right? No, man. Again, look, anything can happen. Anything is possible. It could turn out to be a good thing. But I'm just leery of certain movies from back in the day because they do have a certain vibe to them that is that it's from its time, So, but anyways, Coriander, what did you think of that scene when they were in the room and saw the other dimension and so forth?
That shit was crazy. And before the scene, can I just say too, when Mike escaped from the house and grabbed that beautiful car and went to get his brother Jody. And they're cruising down the road, and they got the hearse following them. And there's like no one's driving it, and they shoot it up, and it crashes. And it comes to find out that it's their friend Tommy. Yeah, they shrunk down, and they had friggin' Reggie come with his ice cream truck. And
he said, "Reggie, bring your truck."
Yeah. So Reggie gets there and he's like, hey, man, this thing's not going to get stuff all over my ice cream. And I just love that part. Reggie is, he's fucking awesome.
Like Neil said, Reggie is all about that ice cream and the ladies, man. Shout out to Reggie. But this scene was so surreal. And like you guys were saying, it really starts to touch into sci-fi. But it's so weird because you weren't ready for it. Like when I first saw this movie, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But not in a bad way, And I think, again, it's
not
credit.
Only that, but when they pulled Mike out, he was like hot, smoking hot. Yes. So that just tells you that this tall man likes his place fucking like an oven. Yeah.
That's where he's from. Yeah. And you're just thinking, why? What's going on? And so then, they pulled Mike out and it was like he was, in a different dimension. And then all of a sudden the lights turn off. And I'm like, oh, wow, it was almost like a conventional horror moment. You know what I mean? The lights turned off. I'm like, oh, okay, now I understand this. I know what this means, right? Nope. Because all of a sudden the lights turn back on. And like Reggie is still in the room, but you don't see Mike, you don't see Jody. So I'm thinking, did Mike get pulled into the portal? nobody knows, right? And then my man Reggie, played by the great Reggie Bannister, he's like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna tune up the band. But they do show that scene where he was jamming out and he used a tuning fork on his guitar. And I thought, again, just little things like that were just so cool to me. But once he activates it, all of a sudden you hear this like boom, like almost like a sonic boom. And all of a sudden, like it's like a goddamn hurricane in the room, and it's pulling the canisters like a vacuum into the portal. And they're going into the portal, and you can hear them shwoom, shwoom, shwoom. And Reggie's trying to get the hell out of the room and barely makes it. So then I'm thinking, okay, where's Mike? Where's Jody? Come to find out, they're outside. Again, it's like a damn hurricane outside. You don't know what's going on, man. It's really weird, right? And then Reggie goes outside, and he sees the lady in lavender laying on the ground. And it's like, what? And so you don't know what's going on. And sure enough, we know who it is. And the tall man stabs Reggie, killing him right there. And it's like, what's going on? It's just so friggin' weird. What were you thinking of this scene, Kill? How that all played?
It all was happening so fast, and the only thing I was concerned about is Reggie. I was like, oh no, not Reggie. Yes.
Right?
But yeah, and then you see the tall man, and yeah, it was a lot going on in a small window of time. But very, very cool, very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Coriander?
Yeah, it was a bummer. It's like, at least the viewer, that bitch is trouble. And once Reggie was going towards her, it's like, fuck, man, this isn't good. Yeah. Right. So, and once they realized, Jody and Mike, that Reggie got stabbed, they're like, oh shit, and they ran right to him, and yeah.
And when they knew he was dead, and they're running away, and then all of a sudden you see the mausoleum like almost evaporate. It was it's so goddamn surreal. It's not even funny. Let me catch up to the chat.
When he hit those things, it like made it go into reverse, and it sucked the house up into the planet or wherever the fuck the tall man's from.
That's what I'm thinking too. Neil talking about phantasm meaning illusion or apparition. The movie can be interpreted as one long nightmare, or you can view it as part reality and part dream. Yeah, that is the beauty of it, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
My man Sunrise saying, does Kill have a channel? I'd like to sub. He does not. This is his channel.
Yeah. You could see me here on the Night Watch Zone.
Right. Sunrise saying it would be so amazing if Marvel integrated Phantasm into the multiverse. I'd like to see them do that. That would be crazy. Yeah. But then the last part of the movie, though, I want to throw out, and there was a couple of scenes we didn't talk about, but basically, Jody was saying, hey, man, I got an idea. There's an old mine shaft. We can trap and kill the tall man with that. And of course, he says to Michael, stay here. And of course, we know that's not going to happen because Michael never stays where he's supposed to stay. Usually,
it's a good thing.
Usually it's for the best, though. So Jody goes out to take care of the mine shaft, setting up the trap. And then Michael, it's that scene where he opens up that door, and the tall man is right there. And it's like, holy shit, this is like, it's really creepy stuff. And Angus was so creepy in those moments. But I'll throw it to you first, Kill. When they finally, the tall man is chasing Michael, basically. And we have that scene that I played in the intro where Mike's running through like these trees and stuff, and he's pretty far ahead of the tall man, and then he's looking around because he doesn't know where he's at. And then Angus does this thing where he pops up right in front of him and does the stare down again. What were you thinking of that scene?
I was just waiting for him to say land shark, But no, once again, every single time the tall man is running after anyone, it's aggressive, it's scary, and you truly feel like this actor really is running his ass off. Like there is something very believable about and I mean, you have this gigantic man chasing a little kid. That's you know my saying, that is nightmare fuel. Like
Right.
you were being chased by this guy.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Coriander? What were you thinking of that scene?
I love, like I said, I love all these chase scenes. It's
Yeah.
like he loves to chase, and he's not. If you're gonna run, he's gonna go after you, and he's not afraid to do it. So yeah.
Yes, yeah. And he was
Great.
like, you know, I've been waiting for you. And
Yeah.
also that scene where he was kind of just walking after Mike. He was pulling like a Jason on him because he was just kind of walking, and he said that little monologue, you play a good game, boy, but the game is over and now you die. And I'm like, wow, he's getting aggressive now. He's pissed off. The tall man got pissed off. He really did.
Yeah, he did.
But Mike, again, a wily kid, gutsy kid. The tall man is right behind him again, but Mike knows where to jump over the ditch to the mine shaft, and the tall man falls in, and then Jody like causes that mini avalanche with all the rocks and boulders come over him. So it's like, all right, that's cool, it's over. And then it's crazy because Jody, he's laying in bed, and you have that scene, that great scene that we showed earlier, where all of a sudden you don't know what's real. You don't know what's real, what wasn't, right? And he's talking about the tall man is after me, the tall man is after me. And you see that scene where he's talking to Reggie. And again, it was, to me, another really heartfelt moment. And Reggie was basically spilling the beans. What'd you think about that scene, Kill?
I thought it was kind of sad, man. I was like, geez, man. Like, and one other thing, you know, when it switched to that, you know, where he's in the bed and so forth. Once again, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, was all of this spoilers, guys? Was all this a dream? Yeah. Was this real? Are we in the Matrix? What is going on? I don't know.
Right. Absolutely.
I don't, but once again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I am here for the journey. You know, I don't need everything explained to me. You know, I'm here for the journey. And
absolutely.
It was awesome.
Well, and Reggie says, you know, there's no tall man after you, and Mike was saying, you know, he's gonna get Jody and this and that, and Reggie says, you know, Jody died in a car wreck, you know, and said you've had trouble dealing with it, you haven't slept for days, and blah blah blah, and he's like, but I'm here for you now, I'm gonna take care of you, and he hugs him, and I was like, Reggie, you all right, man? Yeah, you really, you know, as much as you. Yes, you know, as much as you've liked him in this movie, you like him even more. What were you thinking about it, Coriander?
Yeah, you know, because this poor kid lost his parents, then loses his, you know, one of the most important people in his life, his brother. So yeah, it's good that, and it's good that it was a close friend to, you know, to Jody, so that they'd always have memories and they could always, you know, talk about his brother, and I thought it was great. Yeah.
But then all of that happens, and he's like, let's hit the road, you know, get your gear together and all that. So Michael goes up into the room. This is such a great moment in horror movie history. I'm just going to say it right now, because you've been through so much with this kid, right? You're following his ups and downs. You follow the fact that he lost his parents. He loses a friend, you know, Tommy, and then he loses his brother. Right? So you feel so bad for Michael. He goes into his room to get his gear, and he shuts the door. And the way that the scene is set up is amazing, because also that weird music as soon as the door shuts, because he has that mirror on the back of the door. You guys know when we used to do that, we'd have mirrors on the back of the door. He shuts the door, and who's there, Kill? Who's that guy in the reflection? Friggin' the tall man. And of course the iconic, you know, moment where he just says, boy, and all of a sudden these hands come out of nowhere and grabs Michael, and he's screaming, and you hear this grunting and growling. Kill, what did you think of this stinger? This was crazy.
Man, I felt bad for Mikey, man.
Right?
You know, like all, you know, his whole family, and, you know, for the most part are gone. He goes through this horrific nightmare, if that's what it was, and come to find out it was all a bad dream, bad nightmare, and then for this to happen. So it's like, all right, are you still in the dream or is this the reality? And these are questions that we better find out in the next movies. All right.
Well, and I will say this, the series did go through moments of answering some things and then also asking some other things. But I do have a couple of things that we can throw out for fun facts and also answering some questions. So let's go through some fun facts. I'll throw the first one out for Coriander to answer, and we'll just go back and forth, Kill. Fun fact number 1, the spheres.
Yeah, those were designed by craftsman Willard Green, and he was paid a little over $1,100 for his services. And the poor man, he died just after production completed the end, and he never got to see his work. On the big screen.
That sucks. Oh man.
Right, because those spheres are so fucking cool.
They're iconic.
He did awesome. Man.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next fun fact.
That creepy mausoleum.
Yeah, the stone-looking interior of the mausoleum was actually constructed of plywood and marble-colored plastic contact paper.
That's crazy. Yeah. It looked so real, didn't it?
Yeah.
It looked good. Credit to those guys, man. 1979. Good for those guys, man. Yeah. All right, our next fun fact. The coffin lift.
Yeah, that's the scene where Mike sees the tall man, lifting the coffin, and he puts it in the hearse. And that was made out of paper mache. Yeah, and it had a rope on the side to make it easier for him to handle.
Yeah, Angus really sold that. He really did.
He did.
All right, our next fun fact.
The Great Angus who?
Yeah, Angus Grimm is not the actor's real name. It's Lawrence Rory Guy.
Yeah, all right. Nice. Yeah. That's awesome. All right, our next one. Don's inspiration.
Yeah, he got the idea for this story in a dream. And, he was running down the long marble corridors, and he was pursued by a chrome sphere that had a long needle that would penetrate his skull. Yeah.
Wow, man. That's crazy. That's some badass nightmare.
Right?
That's crazy. But here's a couple questions, and some people in the chat have been throwing these out here. But these are some of the questions that a lot of people ask and talk about. And, we'll see if we can answer them or at least give some ideas of what we think. But my first question, what is the tuning fork room in the mausoleum? Now, from what I can tell, and you guys let me know what you think too, it's basically just the portal. The portal to this other dimension or other planet. That's what it seems to be to me, because a lot of people always wonder about that.
Yeah, it's where they're holding all his slaves too. And
yes.
And they just, for whatever reason, send them through whenever they're needed or whatever. But
absolutely. Yeah. The next question, how does that picture of the tall man move? As far as, and again, you guys can throw out stuff if you want to. The way I look at it, there's two ways to look at it. One, the tall man is immortal. He's an otherworldly being, so he can literally do anything. Alien. He can literally do anything. Or you can look at it like this is Michael's imagination. This is his dream, his nightmare. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at that. What do you think, Kel?
I think it's magic.
Oh, no.
All right, man. Okay, our next one. What are the metal spheres? Yeah, some people have said different things, and even Don Coscarelli has been a little coy about it back and forth. But the way I look at it is it's basically like these sentinels for the tall man. Basically like his little protectors or guards. Some people say, oh, well, they're like, disembodied eyes of the tall man and stuff like that. And later on in the series, they give you a little insight onto what the spheres are as well. But to me, the easiest answer is just that they're the extension of the tall man, his guards. Real Man was saying another funny thing about the spheres, the wire rig for the spheres fly kept malfunctioning. So every time we see them fly, that's actually the prop man throwing them past the camera like a baseball. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I
Yep.
heard about that too. Yeah, good
Yep.
one, man. Good one. Let's see. What's our next one? Why steal dead bodies? Well, he needed slaves. He needed slaves, and those were the easiest bodies to get because they're dead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Coriander?
That's exactly right. Just what you were saying.
Yeah, and as Michael said in the movie, they have to be crushed because of the gravity shift in the other world, the other planet, the other dimension, or whatever it is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, Michael, he's always following Jody. Okay? I mean, look, man, I know my little brother used to do that type of thing.
That's what they do, exactly, man.
That is what they do, right, Kill? No, I'm just joking. I'm messing with you, man.
Yeah.
I love you, man. But I think what it is, you get a sense of it at the end when Reggie says, you know, Jody died in that car wreck. And it's almost like we know that there's portions of this movie that is a dream, you know, maybe all of it, maybe most of it, maybe half of it. Irregardless, I think it's basically giving you a sense of how Michael envisions his connection to Jody. Like he has to protect him so he doesn't die, you know, and I think that's basically what that represents. You know what I'm saying? What do you think, Kill? You think that's it?
Yeah, and you know, I think the one thing, and I'm not sure if they actually said how long ago the parents passed away, but it still seems like it's recent enough that, you know, Jody is all Mike has left, and that's his big brother. He idolizes him, probably looks up to him, and it didn't look like Mike had a lot of other friends,
right? Yep.
You know, so yeah,
absolutely. Our next one, is the whole movie a dream? You know, and some people say the whole thing is a dream, you know, and some people say it's not. What do you think, Coriander?
You know, when aliens come to the earth and they take you, does it really happen or is it a dream, you know? So that is the whole question. Is it? I can't answer that question because I don't friggin' know. You know?
Yeah. All right. How about you, Kill?
You know, after watching this movie, and I watched it like 1.5 times because I just needed to rewatch certain scenes. Nice. I don't know, dude. I really don't know. And in a way, I kind of liked it. I don't know because it's kind of a breath of fresh air, not knowing every little aspect of a movie, or you know, the whole movie is given away in the trailer. So yeah, I have no idea what's going on, but I'm loving it.
Yeah, I agree, man. I absolutely agree with that answer. You know, it's so up for debate and perception. You know what I'm saying? But that's the beauty of it. It really is the beauty of it. Our last one: who or what is the tall man? Look, man. All I know. Yeah, I mean, he's an alien, but he's like he's not like a grunt alien. He's like the
shapeshifter alien. Yeah.
Well, shapeshifter for sure, but he's got a game plan. You know what I'm saying? He's pulling the strings from wherever he is,
slaves
man. So.
For something. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. He's like the
mastermind. He's going from town to town. I don't want to get ahead, but
right. Neil was saying, is the whole thing a dream? I'll give you a different answer every time I watch it. Exactly. It's very true. It's very true. Because over the years, there's times when I've thought one way or the other, or shifting it by percentage, you know, because I'm trying to, you know, see the little clues. But like I said, when he left the grandmother's place, I think they basically gave a lot of it away by saying, this is all in your mind, you know, and it's like, that's how the movie plays. And I think that's exactly what it is. So anyways, guys, that's it for Phantasm. Such a great movie. One of my favorite horror movies of all time, and one of the strangest, but yet most creative horror films I think I've ever seen. And what I mean by that too is there's other odd or weird horror movies out there, but usually they don't have like the heart of like this movie does. And they don't hold up as well. They're just odd to be odd. This is weird and odd, but it's like part of the story. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to describe it, but if you're a fan of this movie, you know what I mean. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the movie originally was 3 hours long, you know, and they cut this movie pretty much in half. And I think that also adds to the surreal vibe to the movie. So it's a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, like our friend Eric, you should check it out. If you haven't watched it in a long time, like Kill, you got to watch it. It's a good watch. It really is. So anyways, we will catch you guys later. Please give the video a like. That helps support the channel. We'd really appreciate it. Also, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let us know what you think of Phantasm. What are some of your favorite movies? What do you think of The Tall Man and Angus and stuff like that? That'd be a great conversation to have. We'll be back talking about Phantasm too, so sit tight. We'll catch you guys later. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace out, guys.
Peace.
Pitch.